Welcome, I'm Mike Gastin, and I'm glad you're with me today. Why am I glad? Well, because today I'm going to share something with you that I have been struggling with for weeks. Now don't worry, this isn't turning into a vlog channel. I'm not going to be laying myself bare day in and day out. You can live with me through the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I am pretty alone!
Let's face it, I am not young enough, beautiful enough, and interesting enough to pull that off on YouTube. But the reason I want to share my struggle with you is because I've learned a valuable lesson through it. And I think it's a lesson that would apply to you if you're someone who is wanting to start a business. Maybe you want to quit your job because you hate it. You've been wanting to become an entrepreneur for years. Maybe you are a smaller entrepreneur that wants to grow your business, or you're just someone that's trying to accomplish goals. You believe in personal growth. Well, I have something that I want to share with you today that I think is going to help transform your situation and make a serious impact on your life. So what am I talking about? Well, here's the thing. I was going through this crisis the last few weeks around what I believe. And I'm going to back up and tell you, how I got there. But I discovered this really powerful insight. And it was a bit painful to get there. But I discovered this powerful insight that I've been able to apply recently and make some significant changes in my life. And I got to tell you, when you're my age with my level of experience and as far into life as I am, when you can find things that make that kind of change, it's kind of cool. It's really encouraging. So I want to share this with you because I think it's powerful. Now, what am I talking about? A few weeks ago, a client came to me and said, "Hey, Mike, I've written this article. I want to publish it, but before I do, would you mind just reading through it? Look at the structure, make sure my argument's logical, do some proofreading and editing if you need to. Just help me tighten this thing up before I go to press." And I said, "Sure, I love doing that." Now, in the article, there was this comment that my client made that caught my attention. And he said, which I believe to be true, that if you want to know someone's beliefs, you just have to look at their behaviors. That our behaviors betray our beliefs. And I thought, wow, that's a great insight. Now, it was just kind of a off-the-cuff comment. It wasn't the core of his article, but it kind of stuck with me. Later that week, I was doing a cross-country trip. I was on a flight and had a lot of time to think. And as I was smushed up, I have to tell you, I was on this flight. It was from Baltimore to Las Vegas. It was a long flight, like 5.5 hours. I'm at the window seat. Everybody's boarded the plane, and it looks like there's going to be a gap, like I've got an open seat. And right at the last minute before they shut the doors, these two guys got on, and one guy was huge. He had to be close to 300 pounds, 6'3". And where does he sit? He just sits next to me. I mean, I was smushed up against the wall. I literally was sitting like this the whole time. And when he sat down, he looked at me, he apologized. He said, "I take up a lot of room." I'm like, you don't say. Anyway, I had this long trip and I was thinking. And I thought about this idea that our behaviors betray our beliefs. And I thought, well, this is really insightful. And then all of a sudden the coin dropped. I started asking myself, do my behaviors align with what I say I believe? If someone were to look at my life, would they say, "Oh, he totally lives up to what he says he believes"? And I started going through the inventory of my beliefs stacked against my behaviors. And there were 3 areas where I came up a little short. And it created a bit of a crisis for me because I said, I say these things like I really believe them. I strongly advocate for them. I create content around these things. And it's not that I say one thing and completely do another, but when I looked at my behaviors would not tell you explicitly that I believe in these things. What were the 3 things? Well, one of them, first of all, was around wealth creation. I'm very big on wealth creation. I believe that human beings are specifically designed to create wealth. I don't mean that we're designed to create big bank accounts. Wealth is having a surplus of time and material assets. And that can take many forms. But I believe that we're designed to do this, that human beings create value and in so doing create wealth, that we generate more. That's why economics experts say that there's not a limited pie, that the pie can keep growing. There's more for everyone if we can create more value, more wealth. So that was one area where I started looking at my behaviors and I realized, I don't know that what I do on a day-to-day basis lines up with what I'm saying. The second thing was reading. Now, I've always been a voracious reader. And I love learning. I love getting new content. I read a lot of business books, a lot of philosophy, theology, sociology, history. I just love taking in new ideas and synthesizing those ideas and applying them in my life. But I got to tell you, over the last year or so, I've gotten out of the habit of reading. I've got a stack of books that I want to get to, but I do not on a day-to-day basis read. And it really challenged me. That upset me because I viewed myself a certain way. So I had to sit and look and say, do I really believe in learning? Do I really believe that reading is important and it's part of who I am? The third thing that I was kind of caught up short on was my health. I'm 51. I want to be healthy. I talk about the important ways you got to eat and discipline and exercise. But when I looked at my behavior over the last 8 to 9 months, I thought, I do not truly believe in being healthy, because if you were to look at me, I believe in chocolate chip cookies. There's no doubt that's what I believe in. And I believe in watching Netflix more so than riding that exercise bike or getting out and being active. So I had this kind of crisis where I had to come to terms and say, Mike, do you really believe what you say you believe? And what it did for me wasn't to realign like, no, I don't believe these things. It challenged me to change my behaviors. Because the fact of the matter is, I do believe those things, but I need to bring my behaviors and my day-to-day life into integrity with what I believe. Well, what does this have to do with you? What does this have to do with you if you're a person working for someone, you say, I hate my job, I want to start my own business. Or maybe you're a solopreneur and you say, I really want to grow into a bigger company. What does this mean for you? Well, here's the thing. I would encourage you, look at your behaviors. If you're someone that wants to start a business, you've been talking about it for years, you've been frustrated with your job, and you just can't seem to figure out that ideal moment or that ideal business opportunity, ask yourself, do I really believe in starting my own business? Do I really believe in being free? Do I really believe in the power and the value and the blessing of entrepreneurship? Now, I'm not saying this to make you feel bad about yourself, although you will feel some bad feelings. I know I did. But I'm sharing this to encourage you to say, take a hard look at your life, audit yourself. Take a moment, write down the 2, 3, 5 things that you say you believe strongly. Write them down, make a list, and then go through and audit your behaviors and be honest with yourself. No one has to see this list, and it's probably going to be ugly. There's going to be a few of you that say, oh, my behaviors line up exactly with what I believe. But the average human being, we espouse ideas and we develop stories about ourselves. We create identities and meanings for ourselves that are based on things that we say we believe, but when you look at our behaviors, they don't always line up. But write those things down. What do you do on a day-to-day basis? What do you do? Do a chronological from when you get up to when you go to bed. And don't say this is what I think I do. Write down what you really do. In fact, if you need to, keep a diary for a week and just write down hour by hour what are the things you're doing. And then take a look at your first list of the things that you believe, and take a look at the second list, the things that you do, and look at those two things and do they integrate together? Does the list of things you do tell the true story about what you say you believe? Or are they missing? Are they not aligning? Because if you lack alignment, you have to come to terms with it. And you have to ask yourself a question. Do I really believe this? Or is this just a story I'm telling myself? Or are there other things? Am I fearful? So let's say you want to quit your job and become an entrepreneur. And you've been saying that for a while. Is it really just a matter of fear? Is there something standing in the way? Are these things that you do over here on your day-to-day basis a way to avoid coming to terms with what you say you believe? I'm not going to tell you that this is easy. It's actually quite difficult, and it's hard to be honest with yourself. But be willing to embrace those bad feelings. Be willing to embrace the possibility that you are out of integrity, that you're lying to yourself. And the reason I say embrace it is to say not to live in that, but if you can be truthful with yourself, if you can be honest and take a cold, hard look at your true situation, your true behaviors, well, then you have the opportunity to change it. And you don't have to change that list from top to bottom the next day. You don't have to get up the next morning and say, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to eat celery and ride my bicycle, and I'm going to save every penny, I'm not going to spend a nickel on anything. Well, that's not how people change. We change slowly over time. You can create a plan for yourself. You can look at that list and say, what are the things that I can be doing to move myself closer and closer to the true things that I believe, my goals, the things that I desire, the things that I say that I want. Now, you may come to a point where you say, some of these things I say I believe, and the fact is I don't really believe them, and I don't want to believe them. Like, if you say, oh, I want to be a triathlete someday, and you're looking at this going, I'm never going to do that. Not because you don't think you're capable, because it's just not in your heart. Like, it's something that you talk about, but it's not really you. Well, let it go. Move on. That's fine. You have to be who you are. God created each one of us to be unique, and you have to be okay with that. You don't have to be what people want you to be, but you have to be true to who you are and who you're designed to be. So guys, take a moment, look at your life, do the audit. I did it. It was ugly. I was discouraged, a little disappointed. But the other side of it is I made some changes, small changes. I'm reading again, and it's so nice. I've reoriented some things around wealth creation. They're not huge. They're easy to do. Because I really did believe those things, I just let my behaviors kind of slide. They brought me back into integrity, and now I'm motivated. I feel better about myself, and I'm upbeat. I feel like I have more purpose, and I have more control. I'm not letting life happen to me. I'm actually living life, and I think you can do the same thing. Guys, thanks for your time. I hope you found this content useful. If you are someone who is starting a business, you want to start a business, maybe you're trying to grow a small business, I would encourage you to subscribe to this channel. I've been in business for decades. I've dealt with Fortune 100 companies all the way down to mom and pop shops, and I want to share with you the things that I've learned that will help you grow. So do me a favor, hit subscribe, give me a like, and in the meantime, please know that I love you, and I'll see you in the next video.